Allahu Akbar Allah. Kamati ya msikiti wa Jamia imeandaa warsha ya pili tarehe 26 Oktoba mwaka 2019 saa 3 hadi saa 10 jioni. Tunaalika watu wa dini zote kuzuru msikiti wa Jamia upate kuelewa kwa kina Uislamu na Waislamu.
Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome to Jamia Mosque.
Qala ta'ala fi muhkami tanzilihi ba'da a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
Ni nasaha kutoka pwani.
Hadha ad-din qala Allahu qala ar-rasul qala as-sahabatu hum ulul irfani. Intaha.
Ili kuongoza kwenye njia iliyonyoka.
Sikizeni hadithi hii ya Mtume alayhi salatu wasalam. Hakuna atakayeweza kumfungia mtu mlango ambaye Mwenyezi Mungu alimfungulia.
Kuimarisha imani yako.
Thabbit qulubana ala dinik wa ala ta'atik.
Ungana na mashekhi wetu kutoka pwani kwenye mimbar.
Mimbar zinamwakilisha Mtume sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Ni Jumamosi na wakati saa 3 usiku katika Horizon TV, runinga uipendayo.
Jambo very simple la mwezi, kila mtu ana lake. Hawa wasema tuelekee huku, wale wasema tuelekee kule. Amati nas, watu wa katikati hawajui, watu wa kawaida hawajui wafuate lipi. Confusion. Leo ni Ramadhani si Ramadhani, leo ni Idi si Idi na kadhalika. La sifa, lazima tuwe na mwelekeo mmoja. Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala kila siku ametuamrisha katika sala tusome surat al-Fatiha, ihdina siratal mustaqim. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, tuongoze njia iliyonyoka. Sasa sisi tunatakana tuelekee njia iliyonyoka. Mbona twenda huku na kule, na kila mmoja ni kiongozi, kila mmoja sema lake, kila mmoja ataka kufuatwa yeye.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum. Kwa jina nilobarikiwa nalo ni Ibtisam Jamal. Ungana nami katika Sabah Show.
Only on Horizon TV.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ikiwa ni tarehe 24 mwezi wa Safa mwaka 1441 sawia na tarehe 23 mwezi Oktoba mwaka 2019. Karibu katika Sabah Show, awamu ya uchambuzi wa magazeti, tukipeperusha katikati mwa jiji la Nairobi katika msikiti wa Jamia. Jina langu ni Ibtisam Jamal. Katika metu ya kwanza kuanzia saa 2 hadi saa 3 tutaweza angazia masuala ya magazeti. Saa 4, saa 3 hadi saa 4 tutaweza kuchambua topic ya leo katika business chart, ambayo ni kwa nini kampuni nyingi zinafunga katika kaunti mbalimbali na hata nchini, na kwa nini watu wengi wanafutwa kazi katika makampuni mbalimbali. Je, ni uchumi? Je, ni siasa? Je, ni kwamba hakuna environment nzuri ya biashara? Andamana nami katika masaa haya mawili, na ili kuweza kuchambua magazeti kwa kina, siko peke yangu, niko na Abubakar Mushiri na Sakina Hamadi, ambao wachanganuzi waliobobea katika masuala ya gazeti. Assalamu alaikum. Why are you smiling?
We are happy. It's a day to be happy.
It's raining.
Yeah.
Kupata ukiwa wapi?
Kumenyesha lakini alhamdulillah tumefika salama, alhamdulillah.
Sakina,
Guru, we're here for another day.
Another good moment.
Yes.
Nikiangalia gazeti la Daily Nation ukurasa wa kwanza ni kwamba moment of truth for handshake. Says here, the head of BBI team set up by President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga says the final report is ready. Ahmed claims it is not. I think the deadline is today. And President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga are set to travel to Russia. So the people are sharing their sentiments all over Kenya via Twitter, Instagram. They're saying that the report won't be ready the deadline?
You know, it's not about the report being ready or not being ready. The issue is there is some form of fear to how people will react to the BBI. That's the issue at hand. Because the committee was set months ago. The BBI committee was set months ago. People are appointed to that committee. And it's people who are capable of, you know, being in the committee and doing what they're supposed to do. But again, you know, there's that fear of how will people take this. I mean, because the BBI, as much as it has, you know, good proposals and such, it is meant to take Kenya to a referendum. I mean, it is meant to change, you know, how the system is in the governance and such. You know, we have seen some of the individual sentiments by his, the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, talking about, you know, the parliamentary system, talking about Prime Minister position, you know, the bridge between the executive and the, you know, the government, the parliament, you know, such kind of things. So there's that fear, what if will bring a report, and, you know, people will be called towards it, you know. There's that fear that people might not be receptive to the BBI report because it is meant to take Kenya to, you know, a referendum. But what is most worrying about this issue is there is no inclusivity. These are two people who are getting involved in the BBI, His Excellency the President and the former Prime Minister. But again, where is the Deputy President? You know, where are the other NASA, or what was NASA, because I do not see NASA anymore, but the NASA core principals who are there. I mean, it's not an issue of two people. It's something nationwide. So there should be a form of inclusivity. Then we can look at the best of terms that we can have so that, you know, we can take Kenya forward. Because the purpose of this BBI report is to bring unity towards in the country, to bring, you know, a permanent solution towards the tribal divisions that comes towards election. So if people are not involved, if the Deputy President himself is not 100% involved in this, I mean, it's between two people and a committee, it's very unfortunate, and it might not work out because, you know, as much as you'll bring the report, there will be another camp somewhere who will, you know, come together and oppose the report. So has unity been served? It won't be served. So we need inclusivity in this thing, in all the leaders of this nation, so that, you know, we can avoid that resentment and a part of the people, you know, going against it. Because if we all want unity, then we should be heading towards the same agenda. We should not be divided on such an issue.
Sakina, are we ready as Kenyans for the BBI? And we've seen so many reports, but implementation is a problem.
Implementation is always a problem because with any policy that is formulated, there has to be people in support of it, and there always has to be people who will not be in support of it. So even with the BBI, hata tukichelewa bado tutafika eventually. The committee will come up with the report. It will be, and no matter how much we are scared of the reactions of the Kenya, the reactions is the only way to know where Kenyans stand, to know the stand of the people, the stand of NASA, the stand of the Deputy President, as you mentioned. The minute this report is out, the minute it starts being it's out there, then all these reactions will come up, and then we'll know the way forward. But right now, we're just still stagnant. All we have is opinions right now. Yes.
That's all we say. Yeah. When you look at the Star, the front page says here, how con woman used Ruto's names to get cash. It's not the first person we've seen and has been highlighted in the newspapers about a con person using the president and the deputy president's name to con people. It says here, Wangari Elias Patricia Mareka took misconduct a project manager, procurement officer at either State House or Harambee House. And then the woman made away with over millions in twin plots.
You know, it's such kind of story is very alarming because, you know, first it reflects that people in the office of the deputy president or people in the office of the president, you know, they get what they want, you know, just because you're in that office, you know, just because you know the president or you know the deputy president. It means that if you go to a government office, you'll get your things done. But for a common mwananchi like me and you, I mean, for us to get a tender, I mean, we have to go through a lot. But if you know someone, you know, you have that kind of links, then you'll be successful. Now, in this case, it's a person who was thought to have the links, but, you know, it just turned out that she wasn't who she claimed to be. I mean, I was reading the story, and it was also alleged that she you know, took documents signed by, I don't know, a military officer and such.
Yeah, she even disguised herself as an intelligence and a military officer.
You know, it's very, how comes that first the offices, the government offices that she's going to, they do not recognize, they do not, you know, get to know the details of who is this person. Are they just listening, I've been sent by this, and then they get things done, you know, in an illegal manner? Because some of these issues were, you know, tendering of laptops and such kind of things, which are millions of shillings involved. So the person has been making a living out of a false name, which in the first place, you shouldn't be making a living or, you know, getting unfair tenders or, you know, unfair favors in government offices just because you know someone. It just reflects the level of impunity we have in our nation, in, you know, in our government offices and such. You know, there's a lot of loopholes that are there, and people are getting away with it. You know, even in the county governments, let alone the national government. For the county governments, for you to get a tender, I mean, it will be very hard. You have to know a governor, you have to know someone, which is, you know, the tendering system needs to be reviewed. And I see this as a problem with the way, you know, when we set up the new constitution, we said let our cabinet secretaries be technocrats. But what happened? You know, we started with technocrats, and a few politicians need to reward the, you know, the political failures, But again, we turned out 100% political on some positions which are like cabinet secretaries. Again, look at the gubernatorial position. This is a position which will be managerial. I mean, it should be more administrative than political. But what happened? You know, all governors are politicians, and that's where we go wrong. Because as long as I've used my campaign money on something, and then I get into a government position, the first agenda will be to recover the amount of money I used in campaigns, then go on to think about how I can benefit myself or benefit others. And that's the problem we are having. Because governors are in control of attendance in the county governments. Cabinet secretaries, they are involved in offering of tenders in the national government, so they are giving the tenders unfairly. So we need to review our tendering system to start with. Then we can look at how we can curb impunity and such. But our tendering system is purely leaking, and you know, only very few people are benefiting from it. As a youth, we have tenders given for youths, but for you to get it again, you have to know someone. It's very unfortunate.
Sakina, Patricia has been on the run for a year and it's now facing charges. Among them is defrauding people. Are there loopholes, like the way Mr. Abubakar is saying? Is there loopholes in our system that a stranger can come in and disguise herself as more than 4 people?
Before looking at the loopholes in the system, I am more concerned with the susceptibility of Kenyans to con artists. Because nowadays the issue of the number of con artists that have arisen is become very rampant, actually. And we keep being susceptible to these con artists. The minute by the time a con artist is even discovered, a number of people have already been conned, millions of money has already been stolen. And I think this comes out due to the desperation that is there in Kenyans right now, because we're in a very bad place economically, and everyone is trying to grab onto the little that they can. You know, a drowning man will clutch at a straw. So any hope you think a Kenyan thinks is getting, you jump on it. You hear there's a tender and you don't even follow up on the, you know, on these people who are making the allegations. You just jump on the offer. But I think that for the loopholes, they just need to install more systems. For someone to claim that he's from the office of the president, office of the deputy president, and for it to go unheard of until millions of money has been stolen, that is a problem, even in the office itself. Because this office is supposed to be respected officers, the highest of officers in the country. You'd expect them to have serious security measures to capture any person who is trying to impersonate any members from the offices. Yeah.
And again on the story, I mean, we are talking about the office of the president, office of the deputy president. Again,
military and intelligence also.
Yeah, you know, and such kind of offices. I mean, it brings me to an issue of the presidential system that we have. I mean, I think we are more into politics, more into positions, less to governance and executive. I mean, we need to give more power to the executive. We need an executive that is more administrative, that, you know, is more focused on kind of development. But when you give powers to certain positions, some people will get, you know, will try to benefit from them, will try to exploit from the positions. So I think we need to limit, if possible. Let's take, you know, as the former prime minister was suggesting, let's have a parliamentary system. Let's have a system which is, you know, more solid, not individually based, but, you know, that needs a more, if you have a parliamentary system, such kind of things would come to be. And again, you prevent the issues of corruption to some certain extent, because if I'm vying for a presidential position today, I need hundreds of millions to get into that position. But you know, if it's a parliamentary system that the majority are the ones who are voting for the president, then less money will be used, and to some certain extent it will curb the level of corruption. So we need to change the system. You know, the system is the problem. It's not the people, because when the system is the problem, when there's an opportunity to steal, people will steal.
Let's focus on something else. When we look at Taifa Leo ni kwamba maandamano kona zote za Kenya, kwamba wananchi wameandamana Nairobi, Mombasa, Kilifi, Kakamega, Bungoma, Eldoret na Samburu kudai haki zao. Wananchi wa Mombasa wakilalamika kuhusiana na masuala ya uchumi yao kuhusiana na SGR. Western Kenya wanalalamika kuhusiana na sugar industries which are dying. So ukiangalia kila kuna nchi kuna problems. There are problems everywhere. Wananchi, they are suffering. What is wrong?
You know,
briefly.
Briefly. I see these as some failures in different sectors. You know. If you are talking about the cost, you know, they are talking about the SGR. You know, they are saying that you have to, there was a proposal that all cargo should be transported through SGR. You know, the truck drivers will be unemployed on this. They are also talking about lands, because there are a lot of squatters at the coast. When you go to the Western Kenya, they are talking about sugar cane and such. So it's a failure on different sectors of the economy.
When you look at even Rift Valley, there are problems.
Yeah, you know, there are problems everywhere. So it's a failure in different, you know, ministries that, you know, the government is failing to some certain extent, and people are hurt about this. So it's upon the government now to act upon it. But we see no goodwill, you know, in acting such upon issues.
Briefly, in 1 minute, wakazi wa Mombasa na wamesema wataanzisha vuguvugu la Okoa Mombasa ifikapo tarehe 2 Novemba kuhusiana na vile mambo yanavyoendelea.
Jana ilikuwa naangalia,
yes, and then we'll take a break.
Jana ilikuwa naangalia maandamano ya Mombasa, and wakazi wa Mombasa wamekasirika. Wamekasirika kwa sababu hata siku ya mashujaa ambayo ilifanyika huko Mombasa hawaku address hiyo issue. They expected that the president being there, he would look into the issue, at least to say something about it, but very little was mentioned about it. And this infuriated the wakazi wa Mombasa. Wakasema hata sisi watu wa fujo, lakini ikifika to that point tunaweza resort to fujo. So ya nini? Why government wait until things blow out of proportion for them to take action? They need to take action as soon as possible.
We'll take a break and then we'll come back for you, Mr. Abubakar. Na mtazamaji, mada ni moto. Tutaweza kuangazia magazeti mengine baada ya pumziko fupi. Tutarejea baada muda usio mrefu.
Assalamu alaikum. Kwa jina nilobarikiwa nalo ni Ibtisam Jamal. Ungana nami katika Sabah Show.
Only on Horizon TV.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Is there any minimum or maximum amount of dowry a woman should ask? No. The answer is no. There's no minimum or maximum dowry she can ask. But the Prophet ﷺ advised women to keep it on the minimum. The easier, the simpler, the better. But there's no harm for her to ask any amount she wants. And that is her right. A dowry is known as a token of love. So it is given to her. It's not for family, it's not for the father, it's not for the wali, it's not for anybody to decide for her. She decides and it's her right.
Abu Najma with kids. We learn Quran. We learn Quran. We learn Quran. We learn Quran. We learn Hadith. We learn Hadith. We learn Hadith. We learn Hadith. We learn the duas. We learn the duas. We learn the duas. us. We learn they do us. We love a prophet. We love a prophet. We love a prophet. We love a prophet. Abu Najma with kids. Abu Najma with kids. We learn Quran. We learn Quran. We learn Quran. We learn Quran. We learn Hadith.
Wake up to exciting mornings every day. Active Jumatatu with Muhammad Obura. Tech Tuesday with Yusuf Farah. Wednesday, the special edition Business Chat with Ibtisam Jamal. All about your health on Healthy Thursdays with Mariam Mwacharo. Aisha Khan with thorny pertinent issues every Friday on the Round Table. Fresh discussions, direct probe in Sabah Show only on Horizon TV.
Practice this direction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala perfectly.
Reminders from the member.
Msije mkafata nyayo na barabara na njia ya shetani.
Saingine Muslim anafikiria ni kupata mali neema.
Best of Hatibs.
We tasted the pleasure, the sweetness of ibadah, because the Prophet ﷺ said,
there are no times that can be equal to these days except maybe.
Tune in to Horizon TV and watch the khutbahs from different masajid every Tuesday and Thursday at 5 p.m.
The Messenger of Allah said, whoever says when the morning comes, رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد نبيا, meaning I am pleased with Allah as the Lord and with Islam as a religion and with Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam as a prophet, then I am the guarantor that I will take him by his hand until I put him into Jannah.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum. Kwa jina nilobarikiwa nalo ni Ibtisam Jamal. Ungana nami katika Sabah Show
only on Horizon TV.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Karibu katika metu ya pili ya uchambuzi wa magazeti. Nikiangalia gazeti la Daily Monitor kutoka Uganda inasema kwamba man sues Muslims for calling God Allah. Amesema the petitioner tells the Constitutional Court that although Muslims have a right to worship as per constitution, they have no right to refer to God as Allah or Jesus as Isa.
You know,
yes,
the story
what are your comments about it?
The story is ridiculous, to be honest.
How?
Then, you know, if this is the case, then we will have multiple cases in Kenya. You know, people suing Kikuyus where they call God Ngai, Luyas where they call, you know, such names. You know, we have different names for God in languages. So Allah is an Arabic, is the Arabic name for God, you know, and it has no.
This is all happening in Uganda.
You know, it has, it's a name for God which has no multiple in it, has no the feminine part of it. But again, I see these as people who try to attract attention, you know, because there was a Kenyan man who went to the International Court of Justice, you know, in Netherlands to sue. I don't know, he was suing the Roman government, you know, for crucifying Jesus and such. So, I mean, and he had witnesses. He had witnesses about the case, and the Pope was supposed to be, you know, attached to the case and such. So I see these are people who have I do not know, maybe they have lost it to some certain extent. I wouldn't say that, but maybe he has his own reasons for taking the issue to court. But maybe he has just doesn't like Muslims, to be honest. That could be the only reason.
Hatred, Islamophobia.
Yeah, Islamophobia, which is very unfortunate. So let him go to court, and we'll just wait, relax, and
see how
the court rules such a case.
Sakina, you're smiling and laughing all the
Well,
way.
you know, it is just a desperate seek of attention, because how does such a case even get to court? I mean, what petition is this person even filing? It doesn't make sense. Not just like, it's not even Islamophobia, because I would expect if it was Islamophobia, he would come with a petition against something that, you know, threatens them. But the name of God, I mean, it's a bit absurd, isn't it? It's a name, and it's a name God himself ordained upon himself. I mean, it's funny, honestly. It's ridiculous, as he says.
Let's come back to Kenya. The Standard says here the Kenya shilling 800 billion minister with a few answers. Let me read something for you. Says here, from railway to nowhere to world's most expensive footbridges, James Macharia, a banker, runs the 5 lucrative dockets in the government since 2015. He has been allocated an average of 47% of the national development budget. He's been given, I think, from page 2 to page 7. He says here, road design mess has come with a huge cost, and then Kenya spends 3 times more on 1 kilometers than Ethiopia on railway train. And then here, James Macharia, the super minister with tons of cash but little to show for it. I'm still going on. Says there, Kenya shillings 100 billion projects hang over Macharia's head. In Eastlands, government's plan to redevelop old estates in Eastlands and replace them with high-rise buildings now sound like a broken record. Then still going on, and then says here, fight at ferry services over Kenya shillings 1.9 billion new vessels. That's all about Macharia.
You know, this is shocking, and I wonder if it's his ministry or his docket failing in this issue, or it is sometimes they blame the contractors. They say, even county government, they say we gave a contract to this company, but they have taken too long. It's all in all, it's a matter of corruption, because how do you explain that Kenya uses 3 times more in 1 kilometer of railway than Ethiopia? I mean, it's an issue of corruption. How do you explain 800 million to be used on 1 footbridge? That could be cut far much lower than that. So I see these, maybe they are giving the contracts to wrong companies, or there's some form of mismanagement of funds in these issues. And with this rate, trust me, Kenya would grow. As much as we are borrowing money to invest in development projects, but how beneficial are the development projects? Because if you are talking about the SGR, you borrow 300 billion for SGR, then that money has to, in some form, repay itself, repay the loan, and bring profits to the country. But that is not what is happening.
Yeah, the same thing about SGR. When you look at Business Daily front page, says here, idle 20 kilometers Naivasha line to delay SGR's benefit.
Now this is an issue of planning, because they extended the railway without a station. The railway cannot perform without a station. So there is a lot of misplanning on these issues. Talk about the stadiums. I was seeing in Marsabit, they said 88 million clearing of bushes, 88 million for the stadium. The stadium was never I mean, how much do you spend to clear 1 acre piece of land, to be honest? Do you use 88 million? And again, I don't know, 7 stadiums and such. A lot of money is heading, this is corruption, to be honest. A lot of money is heading into corruption, and trust me, with this rate, we'll have nothing to talk about the Uhuru legacy. We'll have nothing to talk about the Big Four agenda and such kind of issues. And in 2022, we'll be sitting down looking at how to clean up the mess that we had, because this is a mess that we are having. The purpose of a government is not to be there politically. It's not for me to serve 10 years, then for my deputy to serve another 10 years. I'm there to serve the interest of the citizens. I'm there to bring development to the nation. So if I'm not serving that purpose, then I should I should leave it to someone else to be
who can do it.
Yeah.
Sakina, there are so many pending projects in Macharia's docket. Among them is Lamu Port, South Sudan, Ethiopia Transport Corridor, Kipevu Oil Terminal, alafu Bus Rapid Transit System, Lamu Planning and Investment Framework, Marine Communication System, and so many more which are highlighted in this newspaper, which are still pending.
First of all, the fact that Macharia is in charge of, like, is allocated 47% of the budget is alarming on its own, because the budget of Kenya, that large percentage of the budget cannot be allocated under the responsibility of one man. That in itself is a bit irresponsible, if you ask me. That amount needs to be distributed and allocated to various departments. And when it looks at the projects, there are so many. It's something that has become a norm at this point. We're almost getting used to it. We hear of a project coming up, we get excited, and then there is no follow-up. That is the problem with Kenya. There is no follow-up on the projects that are promised. There is no follow-up. Once this money has been allocated, what is the follow-up that this money has been used, that the exact money that was to be used has been used, that it has been used efficiently, effectively? There is no follow-up on the projects that are said to be taking place. And that is the biggest problem. The minute there is no follow-up, there is no accountability anymore.
You know, and again, we see a lot of money being stolen, but I'm surprised that we still survive, you know, in the economy, and we still rank Kenya among the 5 best economies in Africa. So we have money in this country, but it is being misused. And we brought devolution so that we can take development down to the roots. Then, if that is the case, then allocate the developed money. 47% of the National Development Fund allocated to one ministry, and the ministry has failed by itself. So if a ministry is failing in its money allocated, then take it to other channels. So let us take the money to the county government. We have counties like Makueni. If you give them 1 billion shillings, they'll build roads, hospitals and such. We have very effective governors in this country. We have effective county governments. Let's take the money down to the county government, and then let's follow it down there. Because when you talk about the national government, we have seen that there's some form of too much power with people at the top, with the cabinet secretary, with these offices of the deputy president and such. But again, now we get the loopholes that if these ministries are involved in the mismanagement of funds, nothing is happening. But at least if we take the money down there, then you hear of a cabinet secretary, for example, in Nakuru County government has misused 1 million Kenya shillings, then you can be able to follow that individual. But these people in the national government, they are too powerful. Money is getting lost, nothing is happening.
Let's leave it at there. When you look at the Standard page A, it says here, Uhuru to Maraga, JSC nominees for judges are tainted. President Uhuru Kenyatta has defended his decision not gazetting 41 judges picked by Judicial Service Commission, saying he has received adverse reports of the same.
It's surprising how it even gets to that point. How are these judges appointed for these positions when they are already tainted? Before the president even, before the names are even submitted to the president, there has to be enough, what is it called? Yes, enough research that has been done on them. This information should already be out there. It's not necessarily secret or hidden information that requires digging for years or something. So these people should have been vetted way early enough before those names were even submitted to the president, so that this issue would not have gotten to where it has gotten to begin with.
It says here, JSC made nominations without consulting Treasury, Salaries Remuneration Commission, National Assembly and General Public. JSC ought to have considered some factors before making its recommendation. He intended to return the names to JSC for a review, and if it was not done, he would seek court's help. So JSC nominates people who are tainted and expect the President Uhuru Kenyatta to gazette them.
It's unfortunate, to be honest. And again, we see this as an issue of lack of involvement, because the JSC made the decisions on their own without involving the SRC, because probably these people evaded taxes and such kind of issues. And again, we cannot overlook the judicial system. We need judges who are well qualified for this position. Otherwise, our judicial system will be wrong. I mean, we'll not have enough sanity in the judicial system. Probably that's why we have, prolonged cases in courts. I mean, for a case to be decided, it will take 5-10 years. It's very unfortunate. And again, for this country to move forward, we need the judicial system to be very high level of integrity needs to be in it. Otherwise, corruption, we talk of corruption each and every day, but it's for them, you know, the DPP, DCI doing a good job, but what is happening in the judicial system? These people are not getting sentenced, they are not getting prosecuted.
Okay. Would you wear Kenyan made clothes? Would you wear?
I would wear.
Sakina?
Yes, no problem.
A story on Business Daily says here, state workers to wear made in Kenya clothes on Friday. Even in the Standard, it is highlighted, says here, the Department of Justice has directed its staff to wear made in Kenya attire on Fridays in a bid to support the manufacturing sector. So it is a must for them to wear made in Kenya clothes. Are you comfortable in wearing Kenyan clothes?
I will be comfortable as long as they're not made in Githurai.
Still Kenya? Still Kenya, still Kenya. Mm-hmm.
You know, but again, the problem we face in the clothing industry is people do not buy Kenyan made. We have companies, we have manufacturers who make Kenyan clothes in Kenya, but you are why buy from them, or else you can import second-hand clothes. That's the problem that we face, and that's why probably the clothing industry in Kenya is not growing. But if the government can set such incentives, you know, because the aim of the project is to ensure that, you know, the manufacturing sector, the clothing industry gets to develop in the country, it's very positive. As long as they do not harm one side, we bring a balance between the two, then it's good.
Will it help our SMEs, our Kenyans who are building their names and brands through clothing?
Very much so, actually. This is a very good step in the right direction, actually. Because this is the first step towards because first you have to expose people to Kenyan clothes. Let them see that there isn't really that big a difference between wearing the imported clothes and these clothes that are being manufactured in Kenya. There is nothing wrong with that. They are very good quality, matter of fact, but some of them are even better quality. We just don't give them a chance.
Yeah, you can even see sometimes they're being sold in Europe and Western countries more expensive than
it's true.
How we are buying, how much we are buying.
It's very true, and they appreciate them. But here, ourselves get, I don't know if it's embarrassment or what, thinking that it's a lower state to wear, it's a lower standard to wear Kenyan-made clothes. But in real sense, it's not. It's something we need to be proud of. So this is a very good step in the right direction, matter of fact.
Abu Bakar.
You know,
yes.
I see
I'm so sure I have a comment.
You both talking a lot about clothes. You know, men really buy clothes, but
even shoes, even bags.
Yeah,
nowadays
shoes.
we make jumpers made in Kenya. We make everything.
It's good, you know, that we have such kind of industries. We need to support them. The government needs to support them as much as we can. But as much as they may impose, these are an incentive. These are directive given to state officers. But what about you as an individual? Are you, morally supporting if your sister is making clothes or is selling something? Are you ready to support? You know, it has to, not only the government to do its part, but individually, let us believe in ourselves. You know, let us believe in ourselves and support each other, because we have to grow and we need each other. You know,
we'll have to see you one day in an African attire. Na mtazamaji, tupate pumziko fupi, tutarejea baada ya muda usiokuwa mrefu.
Assalamu alaikum. Kwa jina nilobarikiwa nalo ni Ibtisam Jamal. Ungana nami katika Sabah Show.
Only on Horizon TV.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
From the most interesting things is the alertness of the dying person at the time of his death. For he becomes perceptive to a degree which cannot be described, and worried to an extent that has no limits. And he yearns for his times of old, and wishes that he be left so that he can make up for what passed him by, and so that he can be truthful in his repentance in accordance with the level of certainty he now has about death. And he, out of grief, almost kills his own soul before its actual death, And if a single atom's weight of these things were found at the time of health and well-being, everything that is intended by doing pious deeds would be achieved. So the intelligent one is he who pictures that hour and acts according to what it requires. And if he is not able to do that, then he visualizes it as much as he is able to, for it will prevent desire's hand and will arouse determination in him.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum. Kwa jina nilobarikiwa nalo ni Ibtisam Jamal. Ungana nami katika Sabah Show.
Only on Horizon TV.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Karibu katika awamu yetu ya tatu na ya mwisho ya uchambuzi wa magazeti. Nikiangalia gazeti la The Star page 45 says here list hospital equipment lies idle in 30 health hospitals while county government are still paying 200 million every year for the equipment. Abubakar, still under corruption stories, that's one. And then we'll look at page 6 of the Star still. Uhuru's Stadium pledge a cash cow for cartels, lawmakers told. President Uhuru Kenyatta's promise on each county will have a state-of-the-art sports stadium remains just a promise. Documents tabled in Parliament on Tuesday painted a picture of abandoned projects with cartels taking advantage of the system's failures that are getting money out of it. Still on matters of corruption, we will just combine them all. Says here, page 8 says here, Kiambu Technical College paying Kenya shillings 158 million loan it never took. These are all corruptions cases.
Let me comment on the issue of the health. Equipment were bought by the national government. They were taken to the county government.
They're still paying for them as we are talking. The county government are still paying 200 million every month for the equipment which are still staying, which are just idling without being used.
Yeah, but for this issue, I do not see it as an issue of corruption, to be honest, because these first the county governments are saying we were not involved in before this equipment were brought, we were not informed. And again, when the national government brought this equipment, because it's under the Ministry of Health, when the equipment were brought, they were not allocated personnel to handle that equipment. So yes, I've received the equipment. The county governments are paying for it, but we do not have the personnel, to operate the equipment. And without the personnel, then you cannot profit as much, from the equipment itself. So it's an issue of involvement. The county governments were not involved with this. The national government did it on their own, left the county governments to pay the bills, which is unfortunate. And again, I see it of overlapping of roles. Some of the disadvantages of devolution in its early stages is overlapping of functions, because health is a devolved sector. It's a devolved economic sector. But again, the national government handles the funds and to some certain extent controls a part of it. So there lacks that link, that connection, in their working, because if the county governments the health sector is devolved, then they should be the ones purchasing the equipment. They are the ones, I was seeing a governor talking about the issue and he was saying we are the ones, some equipment were brought which we never needed. Some counties face different issues when it comes to health. There are some things which are more prevalent, some diseases more prevalent in certain counties. They were not asked which kind of equipment do you need specifically. So when there lacks that understanding, that conversation, then there will be a mismatch in the process. So it's about involvement in decision making on this issue. And again, the national government, it needs to do more. We have doctors who are employed out here, but these people are not posted to hospitals. They are not posted. We have enough personnel, but the distribution of it, the posting, there is a problem.
Sakina, when we also look at Kiambu story and page 8 of the star says here, Kiambu College is repaying 158 million loan that allegedly benefited individuals after it was acquired by trustees in 2014.
And yes, the loan was not acquired.
No, the loan was acquired by the board of trustees.
Board of trustees, individuals, not as per the college. So the college didn't take anything, but the trustees took the money.
Oh, wow.
Hey, as a student.
I'm literally speechless right now. Oh my God. So these are people who the students should have been expecting to gain something from that money, and yet the money went into individual pockets. They are left there stranded with nothing, with no finance to cater for the things that should have been borrowed for. That is, serious action needs to be taken there. I mean, I'm genuinely speechless.
I mean, when you leave goats to the hyena, I mean, it will eat it. So the board of trustees, they took a loan. They took a loan under the collateral of the institution. And if you take a loan, under the collateral, and so the institution is paying the money, but the money is in the board of trustees. The board of trustees took the money individually for themselves.
Is there no follow-up for such money? I mean, if you take a loan, even if you start a business, if you take a loan saying you're going to start a business, there should be some follow-up of whether this business is actually started. But for such a huge loan and for an institution, no follow-up was made. This money just disappeared into thin air, and the institution is still paying for it. That is just a whole other mess. And on the issue of the health ministry, I had to mention something there. There was a bit of a mismatch. You can't go to a foreign, like to a village, and give someone living in a hut a microwave where there is no electricity, and you're giving this person a microwave. What is this person supposed to do with it? So the same situation was happening here, where even if you find some of the equipment be taken to hospitals where there is no electricity. What is this equipment to be done with? Some of the ICU machines were taken to places where there was literally no space in the hospital to put it. So there should have been follow-up on where this equipment were going. It's not just about the equipment. Are the hospitals able to sustain this equipment? Fine, let's first fix the hospitals, then bring the equipment there to facilitate them.
Okay. When you look at Daily Nation page 5 says here, Ruto confident halted Kimwarer Dam project will be completed. Deputy President William Ruto says that he is confident the controversial Kimwarer Dam, which was cancelled by President Uhuru Kenyatta, will be constructed once the government resolves the problems around it. The government halted the project due to the high costs of projects. People inflated the figures. So President Uhuru Kenyatta halted it, and Deputy William Ruto, he is sure that it will be completed once that problem is resolved.
Again, this is an issue of the tendering system. We have development projects, but again, we give the contracts to politicians indirectly, because allegedly, when the issue came out, allegedly, there was something to do with the majority Senator Kipchumba Murkomen. He was involved in the scandal. So it's an issue of, as much as we might bring back the project, but what will be be the cost of it? Will it be more expensive than it should be? And will it be affected? Because we have county governments, contracts being issued, build roads, they take 5 years, 3 years. People are struggling. Again, our contracts, let us give them to the right people. Because even again, for this issue of the institution, if you elect the wrong board of trustees, I mean, for whole board, you have at least to have one person who is honest, meaning that they elected the wrong people for this. And again, we are giving the contract to the wrong people. And unless we review the tendering system in this country, the development projects that we launch day in, day out will be going nowhere.
Sakina, the projects usually launched in Kenya usually are very good, which are aimed at benefiting Kenyans, but by the end of the day, what they do is kill Kenyans.
It's the sustainability of the project is normally some of the projects that are implemented are very sustainable, or they are meant to be very sustainable for development. But you see, when it starts, there's this issue of dragging along a project. It will take 10 years and the project is still continuing. Allegedly, we don't know if it's actually continuing, because how long will we follow up on the issue? We'll follow it up for a short period of time, and then after a while we'll start slacking off, and that is when people get the opportunity now to to take the money up into their own pockets. And even with the dam project, we have no problem with the with yes, Kimware, sorry, with the Kimware dam. But as long as they fix the budget, as long as they fix the inflated amounts that had been allocated to that project, so we have no problem with it. Let the president release again the funds for it to continue. So the programs are actually meant to be very beneficial, but the fact that the projects are not being implemented, then there's nothing we're getting from them.
Tukiangalia ukurasa wa 12 katika Daily Nation says here, importers oppose Uhuru's plan to do away with used cars. Would you prefer a used car or assembled one, Abubakar?
I prefer unassembled in Kenya.
And when you look at your cash and your pocket,
you know, it
look
depends.
at your pocket.
We are well endowed financially.
Think about it. I'll come back to you. It says here, vehicle importers are starting to blink times ahead if President Uhuru Kenyatta's remarks on Friday are anything to go by. President Uhuru Kenyatta affirmed his commitment to safeguard local assemblies against unfair competition that ensure conducive environment for their businesses. So many Kenyans can't afford the local assembled cars. People can afford the used cars which are imported. So how will this affect Kenyans?
That is actually the case with most of the manufacturing industries in Kenya, where we want to encourage Kenyans. We want ourselves to be encouraged to use the products that are, assembled in Kenya, the products that are processed in Kenya. But we find these products are way above our expenditure, what we can afford. So we still end up getting the used cars outside. So if it goes through, yes, it may help the industries, the assembling industries in Kenya, but people will have a problem. That is a fact. That is a fact to be expected.
Because so many Kenyans buy used cars.
Yes, because we can't afford the ones being assembled in Kenya. You can't blame us either,
Abubakar, I don't think you agree with Sakina.
Importation of used cars, second-hand cars. Again, what the president is trying to do, he wants to, grow the local manufacturing industry.
But also Kenyans are saying that so many people have ventured into importation of cars. So how many Kenyans will be affected directly and indirectly?
As much as, Kenyans are involved in importation of cars. People import new cars, they import second-hand cars. So by reducing or banning the importation of second-hand cars does not render these people unemployed. But again, the manufacturing, the local assembling industry, for cars and such, has grown by 36% for the last financial year. So there is no way that importation of second-hand cars, harms the. To some extent, it creates some form of competition to the local assembled cars. But we can see that the industry is still growing, and we need to create a form of fair competition on the table, because you cannot end up hurting one side to benefit the other. So let us leave it purely that there is fair competition between the locally assembled cars and the imported second-hand cars. Let the local manufacturers up their game. Let us look at let them look at how they can reduce their costs, because we are buying these goods expensively because their production costs are too high. That's why we cannot afford them. Let us, venture into measures in which they can look at abroad. What are other companies in USA? You go to USA, people used locally, not even assembled, locally produced, vehicles. Let them read from there, let them benchmark and look at what do these people do so that their production costs are very low, compared to us, our production costs are high. Then from that angle, you can be able to see how you sell your cars, your goods at a rate which is profitable to you, and again, which is price favorable to the consumers.
If it's a matter of subsidizing creating a level playing field, the government could subsidize the internal assembling industries. They could subsidize them or increase the taxes on the cars that are being imported into the country, rather than just banning the imported vehicles. Well, these other ones are still extremely expensive and not helping the Kenyans either.
Sasa leo nataka kuangalia Abubakar kama Kiswahili chako ni kizuri. Naomba ufungue ukurasa wa 4 wa gazeti la Taifa leo. Kama naomba nisome
uhasama wa kisiasa watokota viongozi wakijitenga na gavana.
Ni kwamba tangu devolution iweze kuimplementiwa, there's a problem that so many governors don't get along with the county assemblies don't get along with the MPs, don't get along with senator. What's the problem? Briefly, we have 1 minute before we finish the show.
It's a problem, you know, when this exact issue, it's about the Nandi MPs and the.
But still happens in almost every county.
Yeah, it's just a reflection of the whole thing. So the MPs themselves they are not getting involved in decision making by the governor. And again, you look at other county assemblies, what happens? Mostly the MCAs, you know, are not in agreement with the governor. So it's an issue of different agenda. People have different interests on this because the governor has more access to projects or to very many things in the county government, but the involvement part of it is what lacks. And for you to have a successful county government, you need your team behind you. You need your MCAs, your MPs in that county behind you if you are really focused on development. Look at, for example, Makueni County Government. You'll never see wrangles, scandals in that area because these are the governor, Kivutha Kibwana, he knows what he's doing and he has his team behind him. You have to move as a team on this.
Sakina, your final comments.
Yes, you see the posts in the county government are elected individually. So everyone, as my colleague said, goes there with a different agenda. Everyone has their own agenda. Everyone has their own projects or whatever it is that they want to implement into the county. So that leads to a bit of conflict of interest. There's a bit of clashes when it comes to people's way of thinking. And with the Nandi governor, we find that he's never even called a meeting since his appointment in 2017. There hasn't been even a meeting of the senator plus the governor and all that. And that's even shocking. I mean, it's been a while, you know. So there is a bit of a concern that they just need to work more together in order for any development to take place in the counties.
Shukran, Sakina. Shukran, Abu Bakar, for coming and sharing your opinions. Are very essential. You educated me and even a person out there watching Horizon TV. Na mtazamaji, sina budi la kutamatisha mwetu ya kwanza uchambuzi wa magazeti katika Sabah Show. Usiende mbali, tutarejea na Business Chat. Jina langu ni Ibtisam Jamal.
Assalamu alaikum. Kwa jina nilobarikiwa nalo ni Ibtisam Jamal. Ungana nami katika Sabah Show.
Only on Horizon TV.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Am I allowed as a woman to ask for divorce in a marriage that I feel it's not working? Yes, you're allowed to ask for divorce so long as that divorce you're asking is in accordance to the teachings of Islam. I always caution ladies, women, married women, not just to jump